Hey everyone, so in the last couple of videos, the first two of the series, we have actually touched a little upon the column modifiers. So we have covered default, we have covered comment, we have covered nullable, and some of these you might already be familiar with. There are a few others though, which are quite exciting, and let's cover those in this video before moving any forward. Um, so the first one is, you know, okay, it's so good at guessing. So the first one is actually replacing the ID, which is the auto increment, with something that we might need to change because of a client requirement or something like that. So if we want to use something else besides the standard bland ID, and we want to, some people actually want to use something exciting. Some people want to use a UUID. Some people want to use a flight ID to be more explicit. Although you have flights and you have ID, but yeah. So if someone wants to use flight ID due to any reason, what we can do is we can actually um, you add a big unsigned big integer, and we can do flight ID, and we can add the auto increment modifier to the column. So auto increment actually, because if you add any other column, unless you add auto increment, it doesn't actually auto increment the column. So this is always going to stay the same. And in order to make sure that with every flip of the coin, it actually just increments the number, we need to use auto increment. So if we come back to Tinker and try this again, let's comment out the count 10 so that we get just one record, and we can see this getting increased with every iteration. So yeah, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, but hold on a minute. Is it not supposed to be flight ID? Because we've just specified flight ID and we've run the migrations. So it should be flight ID showing here instead of ID still. So what is going on here? So with a few other things in Laravel, we have just like with a few other things in Laravel, we have when we change some defaults, like we have to specify them. For example, if we change the table name to plural and from plural to something else, or an entirely different name, that also is sometimes required. We have to specify protected table name, and that we can also cover here. But for this, we have to use protected primary key on the model, and it has to say flight ID, which is the name of the column in question. So yeah, I think another modifier being at the primary, that could also be added, and I think that completes the whole. So you can see how much ID is actually helping us, and just like I said before, it makes perfect sense, flights ID. But anyways, um, so if you want to change this and you want to use this, you can actually come back here and you can, let me close Chrome. It's giving me all those notifications. Okay, so let's do a migrate fresh once more and try to restart the thing. And as you can see now, it is now showing you flight ID 1 instead of the standard ID 1. So now it's flight ID 2, 3, 4, and so on. So that's basically how this works. And if you want to do an auto increment, you can, if you want to replace the basic ID primary key ID, you can replace it like this with with a text of your choice, with an ID of your choice. Okay, so next would be from. So we need to cover from, which is like very interesting. And let me see. So if we say from 1000 here, uh, let's see what it's going to do. If it accepts this, that is okay. There is some syntax error. So from, yeah, okay, we are missing a parenthesis. So what this is going to do is, this is going to um, start the count from 1000. So remember some of those instances where someone said, okay, I already have like this many records and I want to start it from here. So somebody, if they have, due to different reasons, people say, okay, for example, there is another column where you want to actually show that you don't want to show the actual number of records in the database. You can actually start from a much higher number. So for instance, if someone says, okay, I don't want to, I don't want someone to know that I only have uh, 5 customers and they want to start from 10,000. It's more common than you can imagine. So you can start with that, and we'll have to run migrate fresh once. And as you can see, this is starting at 10,000 now. So and onwards. So that's the next big thing. You can actually do that, and if you think it's getting too messy, you can actually bring it on. Okay, like tab does other stuff which was not intended at all. But yeah, anyways. So I mean, speaking of AI, it doesn't always get it right. Now it's suggesting that I should make it primary key, which is entirely incorrect. And primary is the syntax here. So you can bring them on a line of your own if you think. And I normally prefer doing that when we have um, uh, you know the relationships. So there is like on update do this, and on delete do this, and uh, stuff like that. So I normally tend to kind of move it. If it's like more than 2 or 3, I tend to move it on their own lines. So you can do the same with probably the comment here too. So yeah. So let's now move on to the next modifier, which is invisible. So invisible is when you want a particular column to be not visible in the select queries. So I'll make it easy for you, and let's say, for example, if we don't want the plain make year to be there in any of the queries, in any of the select queries, we can use invisible here, and that is going to make it invisible. And let's see how. So we need to rerun the migrations, and if we check here, invisible, the plain make year. So let's see, it is still showing here, which is fine. Which you can actually, if you want to restrict this again, you have to do it on the model. But then again, we'll go down a different tangent, so different paths. So let's just restrict it to migrations. Um, okay, invisible. So let's see if it is invisible on the database level. So let's create a few records here. Let's bump this up, and let's create maybe 100 records for the flights, and we have the factory in place. So we have around 100 records now in the database. And if we want to run a query, let's do a new one. This is flights, and okay. So let's do select, and let's write all for now, and then we'll modify it, and I'll tell you the reason why. Okay, select display from flights. So if you run this, and if you want to check if this is showing, so the invisible one was the plain make here. So when we are running this query, it is not going to show here. So it's already not showing. The next one is really exciting, and that is stored as. So let's say you have two columns, like let's say you have the airline name and you have the abbreviation, and or let's use something else. So oh yeah, so let's say the flight number normally is like this, right? So in the travel industry, it is like this. Sorry. it is like this. So it is LH2345 example, right? So that's the flight number. So let's make it like this. Let's go it table. Let's sorry, table, and let's say we can use anything really. We don't really need to use the first part of it. We can it can really be an integer or a boolean or a string for that matter, but it doesn't have to be uh, you know uh, anything fancy. So let's make it a string because and let's call it full flight number. And okay, full flight number. And now we're going to use stored as. So stored as, and that is going to give us like, here is what we want to do. Oh man, like I'm literally not having to do anything. Um, so full flight number is basically, this is exactly what it is going to do, and this is going to be a concatenation of the airline abbreviation and the flight number. So what this is going to do is this is going to take the abbreviation from this column, and this is going to take the flight number from this other column, and then this is going to auto calculate and pre-populate it with that. So just like a few other of these columns, we don't really need to do anything in the factory because this is going to be auto calculated. So we are going to come back here and we are going to tone this down a bit, and we are going to run this again. And if you come to, do we show it here? Okay, airline abbreviation. All right, let me actually undo the airline abbreviation thing. This change here, because that's giving us 4 instead of 1. So this is not a nullable column C, but this is not giving us any issues right now. Okay, this is not giving us any problems. Like when we are running the factory, it is just running it and it is creating the record. All right, so airline abbreviation, flight number, and we are not showing it here for some reason. um, and let's see why not. So let's go to the database and let's try to figure out if that is showing there. And full flight number. So as you can see, this is actually showing here. So it is CL and then 2682, and this is showing here. So you can also, for example, we can put something else together as well. There is something else exciting that you can do with this. And you might as well have had some instances where you would need to, kind of, for example, calculate price. So let's say you want to specify the price, and that is going to be price. So let's do it like this. Let's make it an integer instead of a float or something. So yeah, maybe. But let's say seat cost. And we also want the number of seats. Okay. We also want the number of seats. So yeah, okay, so let's call it total seats, and now let's calculate the total amount. So let's do table, and what do we want? Because these two are both integers, I think we would still want it to be an integer. So I think we can do it like that. Yeah, normally flight prices are not in decimals, so we'll just go with this integer, like total flight cost, something like that, and that would actually again store as, okay, yeah, all right, it guesses this one correctly as well. So total flight cost stored as seat cost multiplied by total seats. So this is something that you can do, and what this is going to do is seat cost and total seats. This is going to we might as well want to set a default number here, because normally we can say, okay, this is the normally a plane has 100 seats. It has more than that, but we're just giving an example. So total seats is like, I think now we'll have to make a bit of a change. So let's drag it here and let's open it on the side, and let's see what else we have to do. So seat cost and total seats, and then total flight cost, and I don't think we need to add anything else. So total flight cost, because it is stored as, so we are not going to add this, and we're just going to do, and even with total seats we have a default set, so we'll not, we can override it here. You can override any defaults here in the factory. So I think let's do it like this now. And so this is going to be like this one seats cost, and then like the total number of seats. So let's so this is fake a number between, and that's fine, and seat cost and total seats. So this is just going to calculate the total flight cost automatically. We don't need to populate it or add it in the factory anywhere. And let's go back to Tinker, and let's try to create these records, and let's verify if everything is working as intended. So yeah, there it is. So seat cost is 634 and total seats are 439, and it is not showing it here as well. That I need to look into why this is not showing here. And let me try a different view. Okay, this is still returning. It's not showing the calculated columns here, but I think that should be okay. It's just Tinkerwell. I think otherwise it would it's there. So let's just go to the database and find out if that part is also working. So yeah, so now as you see, seat cost and total seats, the multiplication is there, and that is perfectly fine. That is working fine. So I'll just take out my calculator, which for some reason is trying to be stubborn. But yeah, okay, let's do it like this. So seat cost is 997, and you want to multiply it by 381, is it? Yeah. So that gives you 379,857, which is exactly the result. And as you can imagine, rest of them are also going to work as expected. So I think without going into a lot more detail, we can safely assume that like this store as thing, we can say that this is really nifty, really helpful. And for example, calculating costs and everything else, that is going to be really helpful going forward in any of the requirements that you face from here on. Okay, another one is use current. So this is for timestamps. So for example, if you are there was a timestamp. Wait, okay, so there was this option, so you can use current. Okay, so what is this going to do? This is going to use the current timestamp as the default value. So let's see this in action, and let's run this again, and let's see what is happening now. So let me just create a one for clarity. Okay, we could actually add another query here to find the first one, the first record. But yeah, just let's just go with the flow. So where were we? So use current, right? So let's see what is going to happen. Like this is going to use current is actually going to use. Let's see what is created at. So if you see 1438, okay, and added at. Okay, are we generating it from the factory or something? Okay, added at we are generating from here. So we will comment that out and then try it again, and let's see how it goes. Added at doesn't have a default value. So okay, so this is not auto populating it. Let's see why it's not. Let's go back here and go back to the migrations. And all right, sorry, we have a typo here. Use current. All right, so we'll just run it again, and there you go. So we have added that. So this is going to just take it out from here. Yeah, I have to run this again, and let's look at these two. So this is 9:39, which is like my current time. So this is going to use the 9:39. This is going to use the local time, and this is actually using UTC. So there is this difference. So this is actually going to use the current time zone and the current time when a record was inserted according to that. So if we just do this again, that is going to show you the same value. I'm sorry, I keep refreshing it instead of doing the query again. So 9:40. So maybe I'll just close this and come back here to items and go to flights so that I can see all the records. Right. So we have 9:40:04, which is again the local time. So this is basically the US time that I have set for the system. So that's what is being used. So you can use current for that. Use current on update. That is also similar. You can use that when the column is when a record is updated. It uses the current time zone. Okay, so this is pretty much it. So in this video, we have covered the unsigned big integer auto increment and primary. For the primary key, we've also covered the exciting world of stored as, and we have looked at the use current, and we've also looked at invisible. And these are pretty exciting. These are really nice things that you can actually use in your day-to-day flows. If you're building an order system, and you don't really need to do a lot of this stuff anywhere else, you actually can directly calculate this in your migrations. You don't actually need to do it separately in a model, or you don't actually need to do it in a controller or something. No need to run the calculations over and over, or do these concatenations with first name and last name and stuff like that, or with completing the address. So you can have an address virtual column that can concatenate everything, and that can save it on the fly. I think I would recommend using stored as instead of virtual as, but yeah, that's like so these are some of the really handy, nifty column modifiers that you can use in your day-to-day flow. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and until the next video, see you around. There are a few others, sorry, that are still remaining, that are after and first, and those are basically related to change mostly. So we'll cover it in the change part. Thank you.